everyone, this is Meg from Soul Nourish, earthing you to the ancient wisdom of the body and the womb. I am here today to share with you a blood building broth or soup that you can make after your menstruation cycle, post-menstruation, or this could also be lovely for menopausal women or women that have just given birth, so postpartum. I create something similar to this after every menstruation, and it helps to build the blood, cool the body, and bring a nice even balance to the body system, building it back up to nourish and strengthen our life force to continue the cycle. So just to begin, I'd like to take a few deep belly breaths into the womb, expanding that space, filling our bellies, our womb with life force, and releasing that energy, tilting the pelvis down to the earth, rooting down, imagining roots of a tree growing deep and wide down into the earth. And throughout our time together, imagining the nutrients going up through your root system and into your body. And as you personally create this broth yourself, you can do a little meditation with the broth and the process of creating it, and also the process of taking it into our bodies, because the way we do anything is the way we do everything. So having intention the whole way through, knowing why we're utilizing the different ingredients that we are, seeing the benefits of each ingredient and how they blend together to create this beautiful elixir for life force and building our bodies up. So to begin, I have been studying nutrition for quite a few years. I was able to heal my own skin naturally through herbs, through foods, through lifestyle shifts, and traditional Chinese medicine has been a big influence in the way I view food, the way I view energy, the way I view anything. Everything has energy to it. Everything has different properties that make up these foods, these herbs that can help assist our body depending upon our own composition, getting really familiar with our own bodies. And for the menstrual cycle in particular, menstruation brings about heat in the body. So during that phase, our womb becomes heated as it's expelling this uterine lining. And through that, it can be really nice to have some tonifying herbs afterwards, and also some yin balancing and cooling herbs. Yin is the more internally state of being. It relates to the moon, the feminine, and yang is the more expelling outward force of energy, so relating to the sun. So during menstruation, we're expelling that energy that we've built up the whole cycle. So having yin balancing herbs, yin/yang balancing herbs can be really beneficial to the system. So just to begin, for the base of the broth, you can use any broth really, veggie broth, mushroom broth. I in particular have been enjoying beef bone broth. Beef has more of a heating and warming effect, but with the other herbs it balances out. Beef also builds the blood, and bone broth helps to build up the bone marrow, so I like to use that in my post-menstruation broths. I have also utilized different mushroom broths and veggie broths. You can create your own, or you can buy a higher quality broth. Finding ones that don't have too many ingredients, but in the ingredients, making sure it's mostly just veggies and whatever whole foods that are in that broth. So I didn't utilize this one for time's sake. Of course, it's gonna be best homemade, and you can boil that in a crock pot overnight and have a beautiful homemade broth. And then the second ingredient, I've been really loving after my menstruation, or sometimes even during, for the replenishment of my blood. This Chinese herb is called Rhemania. So as you can see, it kind of looks tarry, and this one in particular is a cured Rhemania. They have uncured and cured. They both do different things in the body. So Rhemania is a blood nourisher and tonifier. That's often used for that. I have a few notes here. Rhemania is considered one of the #1 herbs for kidneys and adrenals, a cooling herb, and its ability to balance the yin in our body. It's a longevity herb traditionally used to treat things like anemia, so that blood loss in the body excessively. It can help to nourish the blood and build and tonify the life force energy. And it can also reverse premature graying hair due to blood loss. It's also an adaptogen, so it helps to reduce stress in the body, helping you to adapt to stressful situations, which menstruation and things like postpartum and menopause, that's creating some type of stress on the body. So adaptogens can help to build up our ability to endure. It's great for kidney health, menopause, and heart health. And cured Rhemania has been cooked in wine, so hence this tarry looking coated look it has to it. And with the curing, it has the energy to be sweet and warming. It works in the heart, kidney, and liver channels, and it is said to tonify the blood and nourish the yin. This is needed when there is deficient blood. It's an overall tonic for blood loss, which is why I love to use it after menstruation or sometimes during. And that is Rhemania. It is a beautiful herb. I would tune into your own body and see if that may be something to utilize after menstruation or for any blood loss. The second ingredient is goji berries. You probably all know about this superfood fruit. In traditional Chinese medicine, it is also known to nourish and tonify the blood. It is great for building up the minerals in your body. It is high in antioxidants, and it has the ability to fight free radicals. It is a sweet and neutral on the spectrum, and it balances and tonifies the yin as well. So helping to bring balance to our inner energy, the energy that brings us back to our center, our wholeness. And I love the sweetness that it brings to the broth as you bite into them, having this sweetness that adds to the overall broth. The Rhemania can be really irony tasting, and the cured Rhemania has a smoky flavor, so I like it blended with the beef because it blends well on the tongue, and then this add of sweetness to the palate balances out that smokiness that the Rhemania can bring. The next big highlight is stinging nettles. Nettle is one of the #1 herbs. Ask any herbalist what their #1 herbs are, and you might get the response of nettle as one of them, because nettle has the ability to balance like no other herb that I've known that nettle does. Nettle is overall really amazing for mineralizing the body. So if you have any need for coming back into balance, nettles is amazing. I could go on forever and ever about the properties that nettle has. Nettle grows in the mountains here in Utah, which I love going out and harvesting at the beginning of summer / end of springtime. And this is what I harvested this year. This will last me into the fall time / winter. And I love to add this to teas as well, just as a tea throughout the overall cycle. You can take this one throughout your whole cycle to help bring balance to your body. After menstruation, it's particularly good to bring mineralization back to your body, and it helps clears the meridians, your energy, your full energy systems. It restores a healthy balance of yin and yang in the body through Chinese traditional medicine. It's said to balance yin and yang. It's a gentle detoxifier, so it works in the liver and gently helps detoxify your body, which is why I like to take it after menstruation as well, so that the body can naturally release even further what we've released during menstruation, so it can clear out any impurities and help coming into that follicular phase. The phase after menstruation is when our bodies begin to start to build up again. That uterine lining starts to be replenished, so whatever we are giving it throughout the whole cycle, but after menstruation, giving it things like nettle is going to be really nutrifying and nourishing to the womb, and overall giving some detoxification so that the rest of the cycle can be set up in a really nourishing way. And nettle is also said to help with any transitions in life. So if you're transitioning from a challenging time, which for some menstruation can be taxing and challenging on the body, also after birth or menopause, and it helps to nutrify any situation. So just looking at the plant in nature And if you look at photos of the nettle, stinging nettles, they have these little prickly hairs, hair-like pricklies on them. If you've ever encountered a stinging nettle and like brushed up against them, you know their stinging qualities. Just on an energetic level and experiencing nettle in their whole state of being, learning from the challenge of the stinging nettle, the hair-like stings that you can encounter, that can be the challenge of getting to the nutrifying qualities of it. So just looking at it in that sense, the challenge of the sting, and then once you've encountered that challenge, you can recognize the nourishing qualities that stinging nettle actually does have. So once you get past the sting, it's so worth it. And there's actually ways to harvest the nettle plant that you don't have to get stung. I personally allow the plant to sting me to a degree, so I can experience what that plant has to teach me. And I tend to appreciate the plant more. And as you can tell, I have a more in-depth relationship to nettle than the other plants that I've talked about, just because I was able to harvest it and look at the plant and really get to know the plant. I could do a whole video on nettles, which we'll leave that on its own. I also have a spagyric preparation of nettle. My friend Key made this one. You can find it locally if you're here in Utah at Natural Law Apothecary. They have really amazing spagyric preparations, which you can just take throughout the day, throughout your cycle, getting that nutrifying quality if you don't want to make a tea or broth. The next ingredient I'll talk about is this menstrual themed salt, sea salt that I created. I created one for each phase, and this has the real Utah salt. And I love that salt, the coarse one, and you can grind it up, breaking it down a little bit when you prepare your herbs in it. I blended red clover, which is great for detoxifying the blood and also bringing more blood flow. I put pine tips, which is great vitamin C, also helps strengthen our bodies. And then I put some nori flakes, which is seaweed, a type of seaweed. And seaweed is amazing for menstruation. It helps to bring more mineralization, and it has just amazing qualities, seaweeds do. And then I just put some rose petals to add the essence of rose, which helps bring us back to our feminine nature, helping strengthen and soften and remind us of our femininity. So I like to add this while I'm boiling the broth to add some more mineralization to my body. This in itself as a broth is going to balance, cool, tonify, nourish, and bring strength to the body after you've lost blood. You can use it just as a broth, or you can create a little soup with it and add things like beets. Beet greens are really great, the greens in particular. The beet root is great for building the blood as well. It has a rich, deep tone to it, which helps ground the body. And then you can add things like garlic, onions. These are more warming to the body. But we have cooling herbs to balance it out. So that is the ingredients. I utilize a little teapot steeper for my nettle infusion. So after this video, I'll show you just a brief clip of how I brew all of this together and the end result. But for now, that was the ingredients. You can always add your own twists, flavors, and whatever you have going on in your body, however you experience menstruation or postpartum or menopause, wherever you're at in your cycle, really tuning into what your body needs more of, what your body needs to come into balance with, and maybe adding a few things to your broth that I didn't mention here. You can reach out to me and receive some further guidance with nourishing your body back to balance. So thank you for joining. I'll show you a little clip of how I make this broth. See ya. Finding a peaceful space to just be and breathe with your womb, with your cup, coming back to your wholeness, feeling life nourishing your body, your roots, your womb, your heart.